Hey, HR friends, welcome back. So, we're in day two of the 2 emotional 6.5 day sequence. This is the entire 6.5 day sequence, and we're going to talk about the polarity moments first. Now, before we get into today's polarity moments or this 24-hour segment's polarity moments, let's just do a little review of what happened in day one. So day one was a polarity flip. That's when the tide got to high tide. And then as this section started, as day one started, the tide started to reverse and flow the opposite direction. Now, I don't know how everybody else felt, but I noticed this. This one affected me specifically. Drained my energy a little bit. It took a long time to get going this morning, and it took me halfway through the day just to kind of get to feeling myself again. And I tried to warn people when this happens, it's like jet lag. So if you experience that today, that's just part of how this feels. And the more you balance your choices in the future and the more you resolve the conflict within your own personal life, the less you're going to experience that. That's just how that works. Now, yesterday was all about red alert. Do not buy into social tension. Do not get aggravated because these polarity moments, what they're doing is they're agitating us. They're poking and prodding us from within, and they're trying to get us to have a short trigger or to want to fight and stand up for our beliefs and cause conflict. Don't do that. If you are creating conflict, it means what really is happening is you're creating stress. That stress is accelerating your aging. And the only thing you're going to get from stress is future states of disease that are going to be unpleasant. Now, this 24-hour segment we're going to talk about today, same thing. We really got to pay attention here, okay? We don't want to buy into things. I hope you're feeling better after this energy is now reversed for a good 24 hours. And this next 24 hours, I hope it's easier to stay calm and to stay focused. That's really important here, okay? All right, so let's move down now. We're going to talk about objective. Uh, Objective is really going to be noticeable in the 24-hour period. You can see there's some up and down movements in here. And what this objective section is helping you understand if you're new to this predictive site, okay? I repeat this a lot because it's really this simple. What you have to do in life is you really have to look at all the different people in your life and you have to assess, well, are they immature people? Are they still learning how to balance their choices? Or are they becoming more mature people and have they learned how to balance their choices? And then you have to understand how you have to get along with either sets of people, people that are more mature than you, less mature than you. And then you have to understand that it's also about, as you're dealing with all the different people in your life, it's explaining and talking to them about your routines and how you are providing or how you are contributing at the individual, the family, the national, and the world level. Now, this is the part that's surprising to people. And when I first started to understand how this works, I mean, I was a little surprised. You can't just invest in your individual self and your family. That's going to create an unbalanced perspective, and that's going to create an unbalanced experience, and that's going to create health problems for you. What you really want to do is you want to integrate what you're doing on a day-to-day basis with all four levels of how we interact in a society. So for people that are laser focused on just certain areas of their life, that's why things get so challenging for you. That's why your health will have challenges as well. You really want to figure out how to balance and you want to figure out how to talk to people about how to balance. Now, if you're more on the immature side, meaning you're a younger individual, a son or a daughter, and you're still learning how to balance these choices, you should be referencing and talking to people that are older than you, that have more experience than you, and forging relationships with them that can benefit you, but can also benefit them because mothers and fathers are just metaphorical people that have more experience and have put more time and effort into understanding why balance is important because when you don't balance, well, life isn't so fun. And just because these people are more mature and have figured out how to do it for themselves, that does not mean that they understand how to mentor or help other people do it. So even mature people need practice. They need practice at being good leaders and helping people that are starting to mature and wanting to be more balanced and wanting to be more healthy, empowering them to make sure that that happens. This in itself is not easy. But when we have these polarity points trying to get us to argue and fight and cause all this conflict, it makes it even harder. So, step one, we're talking about step one today. Step one is stay calm. Even if you don't know how to talk to people, and even if you're not ready to change your routine and your schedules, Step one is stop making it worse for yourself. And by stop making it worse, you got to stay calm, you got to stay cool, and you got to want to cooperate and work out your differences. You don't want to leave a fight and not try to resolve it. If you can do that, step one is resolving and then not creating the conflict. Once you've created relationships where now you can start to talk and it's not always an argument, now you can start to focus on learning and you can focus on, well, how am I going to change my routine? But doing all this at one time, that's pretty difficult. Now, as these tests are unfolding, and when I say test, the electromagnetics. Okay, so these are the sequence of electromagnetics that are going to be testing us. And if we're out of balance with balanced relationship, well, then expect not to feel good. That's how that works. All right, so now we're going to get in and we're going to look at the 24-hour segment here. Okay. And we're going to look at the electromagnetics first because obviously those are the things that are trying to trip us up and make sure that we don't accomplish the objective, which is balanced choice. All right, so pretty easy here. Pretty much all 24 hours, you're gonna wanna be on high alert, specifically looking at the bigger picture here, okay? Don't let the bigger picture get under your skin. Don't be arguing with people about the bigger picture right now. This is where you just listen. This is where you start to share your opinion in a nice way, and this is where you get control of your reactions. You do not wanna make this worse for yourself because all that does is really accelerate things in a direction you don't want it to go. Now, once you have this sheet, right, you want to find your offset. So I always remind people how to do this. We're in the Eastern time zone is where I'm doing these broadcasts from. So when the -4 cycles in here in just a second, this is when I would snapshot this on my phone. But in truth, I use the live feed. I have internet around me all the time. I go right to the homepage at Health Reconnected. I tap on the live feed to see what it is. It puts a time bar through this. It's universal time. You don't have to take these pictures. You don't have to worry about where it is. It shows you exactly where it is. If you don't have that, we give you this option too in case internet's a problem because we want you to know when these peak moments are coming. All right, so let's motor through these alignments today, okay? So we're going to start at this side of the graph and we're going to work our way this way. And the first one we're going to talk about is this EP right here on the space side. So here it is, EP. It's a 3-hour alignment. This is going to test lower left quadrant. So during this alignment, if you have issues with lower left quadrant, you'd want to document that with our technology on our website. Then you'd have inside view of exactly what relationships you need to start to focus on. That's it. You've got to start paying attention. You got to start recording when you don't feel the things that you don't want to feel, because that's the only way we're going to help you stop feeling them in the future. All right, so the next one we're going to talk about is this ME. That's this guy right here. This one's going to affect lower right quadrant. Okay, so these two are going to function at the same time. So imagine that time bar at universal time is going to start to slide through these. So imagine the first part of this 12-hour sequence. Don't be surprised if you're feeling it in the low back or the bilateral left and right lower quadrants of the body. All right, so let's keep moving. Now we're going to come over here and we're going to talk about the PEs and the PEs because we've got two more sitting on right on top of each other again. All right. Now this is a little different. They're both 3.25 hours long. One's a time alignment, that's the purple one, and one's a space alignment, that's the blue one. The space alignment is going to test the upper left quadrant, and the time alignment is going to test the lower right quadrant. So at the end of the second 12-hour period, if you have a hit on either one of these places, now, why do we point these alignments out? Because they're the easiest things to feel during the course of the day. There are frequencies shifting all over the place. It feels like it's all over our body. It's a little bit messy. And what this does is it gives us focal points. Okay. And this is like low hanging fruit. If you're going to feel something, you're going to feel it during these times. And if you feel it during these times and you don't like it, I promise you, in all the other times where it's all mismatched and it's all kind of jumbled together, it's doing damage too. This is just an easy way to confirm what the imbalance is and that you have something that you really want to focus on and work on, because if you don't, well, all you're doing is accelerating your demise. All right, let's get down here now and let's talk about macro position, and then let's talk about what's going to happen here in this 24-hour period as far as testing goes. So first thing I like to do always is just look at how many macros are on the left and the right. So we've got an imbalance here again today. You see it? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on the left, and we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 on the right. So it's not a huge imbalance, but there's definitely more going on the left side here. Now, when we come up here and look at this, you can see it. In the second 12 hours, you can see that the left is going to get tested, especially in the back half of it. And don't forget about this alignment. This alignment right here, this 3.5 hour alignment is going to align with this time right here. So at the end of this 24-hour period, I suspect there'll be some people that are affected by this alignment. Now, why? Green's the toughest color, right? Green's a mature color. It's a mentor color. So just because you know how to balance your choices doesn't mean you know how to communicate that to anybody else or inspire them to want to. I struggle with this one every day. I know how to balance my own choices, but as far as communicating with all the different people in my life and helping them understand the importance for themselves, I'm still working through that too. This is not something that's easy. This is trial by error. Okay. Now, let's take a look at the right upper quadrant. So this is pretty slow here in the first 12 hours. It kicks up just a little bit in the second 12 hours. And look it, there are no macros parked in the upper right quadrant. So I'm not really concerned about this one. Does it mean that no one's going to have upper right quadrant problems? It's possible, just not mathematically probable. All right. So take a sigh of relief. At least the right shoulder or the right upper quadrant, that should behave itself for most people in this 24-hour segment. All right. Now, let's take a look down here in the low back. It's pretty obvious. They're all stacked up down here. Now, there are four on the right and there are three on the left. And the ones on the right are pretty strong. You've got a capital M and a small m. Those are the two strongest. That's strongest, second strongest. And then you've got these two P frequencies. They're the fourth strongest. So this is going to be a lot of testing going on in the lower. And don't think the left doesn't have a chance to have a little bit of irritation here either because, well, if I had to guess, if I was in practice, I say this every prediction, we're going to have a lot of lower quadrant stuff going on for this 24-hour segment for people. Digestive issues, bladder issues, all kind reproductive issues, you name it. Anything to do with the joints down here in the lower extremities, expect it all. All right, let's end this thing with a little bonus video here. So let's go back up to the top quick because I talked about this in the previous 24-hour post. I said there are going to be some third-person agitations at the larger level. There are going to be some bigger things that are going to happen in society. They're going to get us talking and arguing. And that's what this bonus video is about. So in the United States, the Supreme Court reversed the bump stock ban, and that bump stock ban was put in place because of the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting. So I took the time to go back in time and show you the electromagnetics of that and just talk about it a little bit. I hope you enjoy that video. Make sure you check that one out. All right. See you next time.